Good morning. Thank you so much to the previous delegates, particularly James Wilt, Natalie Smith, and Daniel Friesen. I know it takes a lot of patience sometimes to come before this board. All of the statements that those three delegates have made, I firmly support and thoroughly agree with. And I know many other Winnipeggers would agree as well. I am a full-time working professional with a graduate degree. I'm a parent in our community, and I'm an advocate for safe schools, which among a lot of other things right now largely means pushing for N95 masking and pushing against policing. I'm volunteering my time to come before this board, and I'll be honest, I know I'm not alone in stating that I have very little respect for this particular branch of our city bureaucracy, but I want to remind you as a board that feelings of respect for this board are not a prerequisite of coming before you and discussing facts with you as I will today. I'll return to this issue of respect because I feel this board and city council generally expect far more than you've earned in terms of respect from the residents of Winnipeg. The City of Winnipeg website falsely claims that the Winnipeg Police Board provides civilian governance and oversight of the Winnipeg Police Service. In fact, in your function, you directly align the objectives of the WPS with your own. This isn't oversight. This is made clear in your 2023 communication plan, agenda number 6. I'll give one example. The plan states that a media release may be issued to share information or state a board position for the record in cases where, quote, the board has identified a significant risk to public confidence and trust in the board and or service, thus connecting the two. And a few items down, the board needs to, in cases where the board needs to address oversight or misrepresentation of the service and its activities or operations in the media, and has consulted with the service in this regard, again, aligning the two entities. So two clear examples there of an elision of your view of the WPS and messaging around it and the WPS's view of itself. That is a big problem. Your 2020 to 2024 strategic plan states that the roles and responsibilities of the board include ensuring that community needs, values, and expectations are reflected in the strategic plan through ongoing communication and consultation with residents and community groups. The communication plan similarly states the following board objectives: encourage citizens and stakeholders to connect with the board, to inform the multi-year strategic plan and annual updates, and incorporate citizen perspectives and priorities into the strategic priorities of the service in reference to the Winnipeg Police Service. I've already raised before this board the inconsistencies between items stated in your communication plan and the actions of the board. We have a very concrete recent example of this. At the end of September, Police Free Schools Winnipeg invited all city councillor candidates and incumbents, including city councillor Chambers, to attend a 1-hour launch of a report authored by Vanier scholar Fadi Anab and released by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives on the effects of policing on Black and Indigenous youth in the downtown core. At that time, Councillor Chambers responded by saying, and I quote, "As current chair of the Winnipeg Police Board and as a candidate that has recently been acclaimed, I will not be able to attend this event." He also invited Police Free Schools Winnipeg to make a presentation to the board. Police Free Schools Winnipeg, to be clear, were not the authors of this report. There are so many problems with this response, the most obvious being the fact that as chair of the only city entity that ostensibly exists to oversee the Winnipeg Police Service, one would imagine, Councillor Chambers, that you would feel it your duty to attend such an event. At first, Councillor Chambers' statement that as chair of the WPS board, he won't be able to attend the event seems contradictory. Why would his role as chair prevent him from attending the release of such an important report, very relevant to the earlier stated goals that I quoted from the Winnipeg Police Board communication plan to consult with citizens and community groups, certainly very relevant to his role as chair of such a board. However, Councillor Chambers' response is only contradictory if you believe that the role of the police board is actually one of oversight. In fact, Councillor Chambers' response is quite appropriate to the actual goals of the WPS board, which are to support and even protect the Winnipeg Police Service and to serve as a PR wing for the same. So a damning report on the impacts of policing on Black and Indigenous youth does not align well with a board such as you are, who exists to protect and support a public narrative that the WPS is a source of public safety and not a source of harm to Winnipeggers. In fact, we the public know better. In response to the WPS's own 2022 survey, only 52% of respondents felt that police provide the same quality of service to all citizens. If public opinion on policing is low, it is a result of the actions of police. Nothing in your communication plan, itself a piece of propaganda designed in part to make the police board's existence digestible, will change the fact that you exist as a public relations project for the police. That is what you are doing here, is PR for the police, not oversight, and certainly not accountability. To agenda number 9, several delegations who went before me did a thorough job of critiquing your state of policing report, so I'll only add this. Upholding and amplifying a false narrative that the defund movement is a sliver of extremism at the fringes of society makes you as a board look out of touch with evolving public consciousness. I understand that you believe you can form public narrative through this kind of discourse and that media will support you in this effort, as they have in the past, but the facts increasingly point elsewhere. For example, only a week ago today, the BC Human Rights Commission put out a media release, which included a letter that they sent to the BC School Trustees Association recommending an end to all school liaison officer programs in the entire province, citing peer-reviewed research on the harms of such programs to racialized and marginalized students. The City of Winnipeg funds the same rights-violating program under the name School Resource Officer Program. The BC Human Rights Commissioner is not an extremist, nor is the Commission on the anti-authoritarian fringes of society. What is happening is a public reckoning nationwide of the true nature of policing, and you are, by merely sitting on this board, disrespecting the truth of that public reckoning and the victims of police harm. The city's strategic plan includes a subheading entitled The Role of the Citizens of Winnipeg, under which 3 items are listed: being partners in our community, reporting crime, and unaccountably respecting and valuing policing services. So returning to the issue of respect, the city and you are claiming that it is a role of citizens to respect and value police. Where then does civilian oversight exist within that concept? How dare the city suggest that it is our role to respect police when we see the destruction of communities that is a direct result of the city's astronomical funding allocation to the WPS, starving other services? What this demonstrates is a fundamental misunderstanding of the role the city needs to play as representatives of the citizens of Winnipeg, and of the fact that the days of the public considering the police an inherent good, a given as a source of protection and safety, and an institution of trust are long gone. For some communities, those days never existed. No amount of police propaganda claiming the contrary, supported by you, is going to change that. The City of Winnipeg must defund the WPS and fund ethically planned and implemented life-sustaining community services. The last time I came before this board, I asked you to disband. A couple of days later, Councillor Mays, who I normally agree with on very few issues, made the exceedingly wise decision to leave this volatile and heavily scrutinized body whose governance and goals remain questionable in the eyes of the public. So Councillor Chambers, Councillor Eadie, Brian, Mohammed, Damon, Colleen, Edna, and Mayor Gillingham, I encourage the rest of you to do the same. If you don't like this level of public scrutiny, which I promise you will continue to face, if you understand that we the public see this board as illegitimate, please do the only thing that makes sense. Do what Councillor Mays has done and resign. Hop off of this board that is servicing the needs of the WPS instead of the public. To Winnipeggers listening, you can find the report that I mentioned earlier entitled Safer Schools Without Policing Indigenous and Black Lives in Winnipeg on the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives website. Lastly, 4 beautiful lives, that of Rebecca Contois, Morgan Beatrice Harris, Mercedes Myron, and a fourth unnamed victim were failed by the WPS, who neglected to act on information about a white supremacist killer in our community. Four cherished lives of Indigenous women are gone.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend.